and let's have a chat about all things from Shaw and Partners. We know Davide Bosio and his team love uranium. We were talking about uranium before this deal, but it certainly got everybody talking. For anyone who hasn't been listening to Shaw and Partners, David, what's been going on with Sprott? What are they doing to the uranium market?
Well, they've managed to do the classic cornering of a market, and we haven't seen this since the great the great days of groups trying to corner the silver and gold markets. But many people are very familiar with Sprott, and what they have done is seen a terrific opportunity in the uranium market, and they have taken control of an existing uranium fund and basically rebadged it the Sprott Physical Uranium Trust, which is commonly known now as SPUT. And they have raised $300 million into that trust vehicle, US, and they're out there essentially buying physical uranium with the I guess general belief that the price is not where it should be, and I think investors seem to be getting on board.
They sure are. It's been sort of a bit of a process for us here at Ausbiz. We've been talking to, like your colleague Fraser McLeod loves uranium, been talking about it for a while. But just to be clear for investors, uranium is not traded like gold and silver, is it? There's no open market.
No, there's no open market, and there's really, I guess, the spot market, which trades around 60 million pounds per annum, and out of 180 million pound annual market. So the bulk of uranium is traded through the utilities, so the energy companies that trade long-term contracts. So there's only a smaller physical market, I guess, of call it the speculators and the shorter-term trading groups that have got access to those spot market prices.
You can see we've just put the uranium miners on the screen. What a surprise. In terms of who else supplies uranium in Australia's had it for years. We've just never gone down that nuclear electricity route. So we're an exporter. But who else has uranium?
Yeah, so there are some large producers, Cameco being one of the biggest uranium groups, and they've had some supply challenges, or just given the low spot price historically ever since the Fukushima disaster, say 10 years ago. It's been very difficult for the producers. So Cameco being one of the large North American, Canadian producers with some of the best deposits in the world, they have turned off a lot of their production, and that's again led to this potential shortage in supply out there, which again plays into this theme around the spot price not properly reflecting the market. But there's also a lot out of Eastern Europe, so a lot of the stands have been historically large producers. But again, there are challenges in turning on these projects, and we've seen companies like Paladin, who our analyst in Melbourne, who whilst he's been in lockdown, he's been a very productive young man, sitting there studying this uranium market very well. So he got us onto the theme very early, and Paladin was one of his first picks, where he said at 10 cents per share, this project is desperately undervalued. And their project is in Namibia, fully permitted, fully functional operation that's essentially on care and maintenance and just waiting for the economics to make sense. So they're now up 10 times from the time that Michael initiated coverage, when it was 10 cents per share. So now I think today they're just over $1. So it's a fantastic result. But they've got a fully permitted mine in Namibia that they can turn on in a heartbeat once they feel that the economics are right.
So as you say, you were ahead of the curve. It sort of seems ironic, and now of course today we're talking about nuclear powered submarines. It feels like Chernobyl is now a tourist attraction. Fukushima, we've moved on. We've had this silence for so long. Why is this now a perfect storm for uranium?
Well, I think the world has clearly some serious energy issues going forward, and it's been Probably never as apparent in terms of decarbonisation, the move to battery technology. We've seen a huge talk driven probably by, say, the Fortescues of the world around hydrogen as well as a real alternative. But the theme of moving to a low carbon environment, low CO2 emissions, etc. Nuclear has always been one of the very few scalable solutions for energy that has essentially a very, very low carbon footprint. It's one of the most competitive in terms of greenhouse emissions. But also it solves the problem of providing real baseload power. It can supply towns and countries essentially. Things like solar have got their issues. Things like wind have got their issues. They're very expensive to develop. They're also very dependent on wind and sun, for example. So when you look at nuclear, the issues unfortunately have been exaggerated by those two disasters that you mentioned, being Fukushima and Chernobyl. However, we see major investment globally. So China, for example, they're committed to building between 5 and 8 nuclear reactors for baseload power within their country over the next per annum for the next 5 years. So that could see somewhere between 25 to call it 50 new reactors being built. Now, to fuel that, you need long-term supply contracts in place with the producers, and I think that's going to maybe see Sprott looking extremely clever in terms of their view on buying physical uranium.
Well, I say congrats to Shaw and Partners. You guys were certainly ahead of the curve on that one. Big smile there, David Bosio. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks, Annette.